everyone. Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Eyal here from Modalics, and and this will be another one of my dev streams where I will be coding a new music software that we're working on. And hopefully there'll be interesting things. I'll be mainly doing code and C++, but hopefully, there might be some breaks where I'll want to play something on my piano, or maybe I would just, answer questions and do fun stuff. So feel free to let me know in the comments what you'd like to know. I know this is going to get very technical, but I'm having fun doing this. I know it's a weird hour to be streaming in. It's actually 3:20 a.m. here. Don't ask why I'm up. So probably most of my friends in the US are asleep. So I'm guessing whoever's watching this either is a night owl or somewhere in the other side of the world where the hour is closer to being normal. Okay. Hopefully audio and everything is working well. Looks like it's getting some good inputs on the meters. So what we'll be doing is I will be going over or continuing this thing that I'm doing, which is this new idea for music software. It's how do I explain this? So it's a music composition software that the idea is that it can process expressions, and I'm calling those, I guess, functions, and it lets you express things about your music. Unlike things that exist already, it's not a modular synthesizer, it's not Max or something like that, but it's something that operates on pieces of music and lets you kind of enhance that piece of music algorithmically. So there's a lot that it can do. Like, it can take one chunk of music, one short chunk, and develop it, and over time, with just a few expressions, make it bigger and more interesting, etc. Yeah. So what I'm about to show you is I'm going to be slowly iterating over this, what I'm doing in my code here. The way we're looking at this is kind of like a programming language. Like, there's expressions and functions, but no one is going to write text in this. There's going to be a UI, and I will actually probably work a little bit today on the implementation of the very raw and basic version of the UI. My partner in Modalics, Olu Bianikel, he's as we talk, he's doing UI sketches and working on the UI. He might join the stream later to share some of his ideas. But we wanted to share this because we thought it might be fun to have this as a more open process, not just Or and I amongst ourselves, but also kind of bring you into this. And so some of this will get very detailed and very technical and very low level, and some of it will hopefully be entertaining to you and interesting. So so feel free to let me know if you have any questions about what I'm doing. If you just leave this thing in the comment section. We're streaming this across a bunch of different channels on my Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, forgot where else, YouTube, and also on the Modalics channel. So you can leave a comment and I will just make it available for everyone to see, and we can answer it and talk about it, and hopefully get some discussion on what is it that I'm doing and we're doing, so that maybe there'll be some inspiration in the process for me as well. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments what are you thinking about. So to recap, this language, this thing is kind of based on a functional programming language. I don't know if if people are watching this, everyone are programmers, but the idea of a functional programming language. And by the way, this language that I'm writing in, it's C++, and it's not a functional programming language. Like you can kind of write in a functional style in that language, but the language itself is not inherently functional. Like you can decide on different different paradigms to write in. But the main idea is that in this language. So in this language, the main idea is that, so not in the C++, but in the language that I'm creating, the idea is that expressions are stateless. They're what people call pure functions. And that means that if you create a function, and we're going to see, over time in the UI what it means to have a function. It's going to be some block, something in the, that the user will see would have a UI. A function means that it's always the same if you bring in the same inputs. It's pure. There's no statefulness in this. There's no classes in it. There's no, it doesn't keep state between calls. And this is the design concept we're at least trying to go for initially, because I feel like it's going to make a lot of these expression chaining to be a lot of fun, because a lot of the music stuff we're doing is you can pass in, like, let's say you call some sort of song form function that kind of takes a bunch of different pieces of music and puts them in an order. A lot of these functions could be chained together. Like you can create, for example, another function that creates a piece of music and pass that function in something that chains things. So there's going to be some interesting concepts of when it comes to function chaining, function connecting, and yeah, this is basically what I'm doing. So in the implementation of this, the implementation is more of an object-oriented, let's call it, implementation, and there's state in this because the implementation is actually also meant to communicate with the UI and kind of the UI of the user reordering things. Like unlike code, here the user might put something on screen and then move it somewhere else, like change the order of functions, and so we need something that kind of helps the user operate on that. So the implementation of this is going to be, I guess, more of it is going to be more stateful and has communication between objects and stuff like that, which does not exist in functional programming. So there's some a lot of thinking about these things from two different paradigms, right? We think about the implementation, and then we think about the UI, right? The UI is functional, it's pure, it's like it's clean, and the implementation is way more stateful and things are connected to each other and stuff like that. Good. Very good. I see people are joining on the different different network that I am. Again, so as I said before, feel free to comment. I'm broadcasting on multiple networks, but I will be putting your comments on screen so that everyone can see them, and I will try to interact, answer questions as much as I can while doing something very technical and weird. Okay. That's good. So let's see where we are. Okay, everything looks good here. Okay, so let's get into coding mode where you can see what I'm doing. Just realized that I probably need to have this on the other side because my camera is pointed here. And always looks like I'm looking away. I actually should be looking here or something, so that I'll be looking more into you when you're writing your comments, etc. See, where can I place this? Okay. All right. So here's where I am right now. The last thing I did in one of the previous streams, for those who have not seen it, is that I was trying to create a concept of a function call. A function call means that there's a graph. I call it a function graph, which is more like the definition of the function. It's a class that means that you can chain a few things together and it will return the the result of the last thing in the function. So like let's imagine you write a function it's called song form. The song form might take in as inputs multiple pieces of music, but it will return one piece of music that's chained from all these together. So that would be the function. In this case, I was making tests with a function that does very simple multiply over an integer, but this language can take multiple types, like a musical type. So yeah, so and once I have the function, I have the thing called the function call, right? Because in programming, right, and I'm going to use plain old C++, like outside of this project for to show, like to discuss concepts both with you and with myself. So a lot of the time, what I like to do is I like to set up, a few statements in a real programming language like C++ and kind of discuss what it means when I do that, because I need to literally implement every single thing about them in my code. So for example, let's say I had a function that says, user function. Like for example, the function could take something like int x and y, right? And it would return x times y. That would pretty much be the function. So the function has these inputs, then it has an expression, and then it returns it, right? And then, but that's just the definition of the function. Where the function gets used is when we call the function. Like I go into my main function later, and then I can do something like, return x times y, right? Yeah, sorry, I'm blanking out. Return, what am I doing? Return user func 57 or something, right? But I can also have call this thing multiple times. Like I could do something like, O2x equals user func 57. But I can also have O2y equals user func 1020, and I can also do O2z equals user func xy, right? I can chain these expressions together and have many different results that are all using the same thing. So this is the one thing that I was trying to express. And I did express it in the console version, which is just like a little tester. But now I want to start expressing that in the UI version. And the UI version that we have is still pretty limited, because a lot of the concepts are just implemented in a raw way, using like a console app. But I need to start moving that into the UI. This UI is going to look horrible, by the way, so be prepared. I designed this UI, so there's nothing in here. But what there is something that will show like just basic concepts. So what this does in general is that you can see each one of those represents a function. This is just a function that is literal, like it returns a constant number, like 3. And this is a function that returns a piece of music, which is right now is just like some like a hard-coded sequence of notes. And transpose is something that takes music and the number for how much to transpose, and it returns it. So if this would have been a different number, like 10, it's going to be higher, right? 12 higher, -3 lower, right? That would be the idea. And we can also add other kinds of blocks. Like for example, I have this thing here called repeat, duplicate. I don't know why it says repeat on the UI and duplicate in here. Doesn't make any sense. But then the input, which is M of type music. So input would be the result of transpose, and amount is how many times. So that could be something like which number is this? 4, right? Return 4 times. So that's the general idea, like of how you chain these things together. You can then make a append the literal music, and after that append the result of the duplicates, right? And then you see I have one of the original and then a bunch of the transposed. So it's a way to describe actions in your music. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to start moving forward from this. Like this is pretty rudimentary, or start to make all these designs about how these work, and I should start to move forward. So the first thing I need to do is I need a way to express the inputs of the device itself. The device also has inputs, and I need to do that because I basically need a way to create multiple devices. Yeah, so let's have a look at what it is that I need to do for that to happen. By the way, as usual, feel free to let me know in the comments. What are you thinking? If you have some ideas, if there's something that's not understood, and there's probably a lot that's not understood. Even I don't understand most of what's happening here because I'm still discovering it. Like I'm still in the process of thinking of a concept, trying to connect my concept to an implementation. This is not one of those streams where I'm trying to like recreate something that I've already done. Here I'm in uncharted land. I've never done something like that. It's like a music language or, even a programming language that I program. Never. So I do know a little bit of C++, so hopefully that knowledge would come in handy. And we're using, some of the Modalics libraries here, so some of them will make shortcuts. Like I probably won't need to handwrite every data structure because I have some of them, but it's still important that I will, go through the motions and explain what I'm doing. So here's what I'm doing. So what I need to do now is, so far, I'm trying the way let's see how I express this whole device. Like right now, I've had this really horrible looking thing called blocks. Yeah, and above that I wrote this thing called lane graph. Okay, and the idea was that lane graph is meant to be the display for a device. And right now I'm taking this thing on an expression map. That's probably not a good idea because expression map is in my language is one of the elements that make up for a function, but it's not the whole thing. And we probably need now that we're talking about inputs and other elements, we need to pass the whole thing. So instead of passing that, I will pass a, let's see how this is called. It's called expressions function graph. This is what I need. So this is basically the thing that gets edited. So I will store this thing here, and let's call it something like a graph to use. Here I will store the graph. There's a thing here called the UI state. I probably need to pass that in there as well. Okay, so this needs to be, I don't know what I call this. Probably passed it to a few other classes. That's why I made it like this. But let's make something like expressions function graph to use. And this would have same as that thing before. We just hold the graph. The map can be taken from the graph, so it's right there. And I just need to initialize it with the graph that's coming in. Good. I'm not sure if I need to store this for now. I can just initialize the state with the graph. Okay, this is okay. Let's see if I'm building, if I did something right. This probably won't build because when I'm instantiating this, I need to pass the full graph and not just the map. So I think this would need to be done like this. Okay. So good. So it's compiled. So that's the first thing I want to do. I'm just going to commit this because it's a very boring change. I'm going to call this line UI. Started moving the graph into the UI instead of just the expression map. Awesome. Okay. Pretty good. Now, What I need to do now is I need to start displaying things about this graph. So now this graph, when you think about the state of it, it has this thing called inputs. Now that I realize that I'm doing this, why don't I clean this up a little bit too so that it will make more sense? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the state of this thing. Vocabulary. We're currently titling this this project vocabulary, because vocabulary is I don't know if it's going to be the name of the product, but it's going to be the name of things you do in it. Like the idea is that you create vocabulary of your own music and then you reuse it. So hello Zyke Z, who's giving us very nice notes. Yeah, this is about that. This is about writing music, even though what I'm doing now is not music. But hopefully it will become something that makes music once we improve this. So so I want to say hi to Markus Reuter, who's an incredible musician, someone who I'm personally a big fan of. Good to see he's here. I think he might be somebody who will enjoy this kind of software. It can do quite deep algorithmic composition when it's done, and I think people who like this kind of stuff will be very much into it, because it's, in my opinion, it's something that has not been done yet in this way. Like you could always write code. If you write code, you can kind of do this, but you could never do this in a way that's visual in this way. Like usually when you think about existing music creation languages or music creation, let's call it the modular environments, a lot of them are stateful, which really limits what you can do and how you can expand on music, because they're all usually work on like MIDI notes or stuff like that. And this does not work on MIDI notes. It works on longer pieces of music that it will later translate to MIDI notes, if that makes sense. So there is going to be MIDI in this, but it's not going to be like, you won't see any code here on the user side that does a for loop over the notes. It does something. It does things on a higher level, which I think allows for more control and more expressive operations. Okay. So so feel free to ask me in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about what we're doing here. This is very experimental for me to even show this, right? We've never shown Modalics code, and I won't show the whole thing, but I will show the bits that I'm working on, and there's going to be a lot of interesting details in how this works. One of the things we want to do with this is the implementation of this has to be something that works live. So it has to be something that you could eventually connect to MIDI controllers and connect to, connect to your playing and stuff like that. So there's a lot there in the implementation, the low-level elements of the implementation, so that it will work in real time. So that even if you take, few bars of music, like you take 3 bars and you make them to be 50 bars in real time, this would still work. This would still be in it. So I want to say hi to MD. You're actually not the first person watching this. So I'm actually streaming this on a few different networks. This is on my YouTube, Modalics YouTube, my Facebook, my Twitch, LinkedIn. Like it's on a bunch of networks. So I actually have a few different, quite a few people now watching from different places. That's how I could. I've shown the other people's comments, and so whenever somebody writes a comment, I'm trying to put it on screen and show this to the rest of people watching and commenting on the chat. Okay, all right. So feel free to let me know if you have comments or questions. I know this is some people here are programmers, some people are musicians, some people, maybe they're just friends of mine who want to see what's up with me. So just feel free to let me know what you think. So there's a question here. Brother, can you let me know how long does it take to learn audio programming? Oh, that's a great question. That is a great question. So let's talk about this. So audio programming in general has some difficulties in it, right? But it's the main thing is learning programming, I guess. Like you need to learn the audio specifics, right? But I think you can learn. I don't know. It depends on how fast you learn and how much time you invest in it. I think you can learn quite a lot in 6 months to a year if you're doing it full time, which is what I did. When I studied programming, I was doing nothing else but study programming. I was literally, I woke up, I was doing, exercises, reading books about programming and trying to program. Like that's what I would do. And it took me a little while to get to a point where I have control, but yeah, and I think this would be a good time to get to a level where you're proficient enough to get results. But again, only if you're doing it full time. If you do it, like as a, once in a while, then it's going to be difficult. It's going to take a while. I think there's a lot to be said about I think there's a point when you invest in something where you kind of bang your head against the problems. You're like, okay, you're trying to learn how to write the syntax. It doesn't work. You're trying to do that. It doesn't work. But then after you put in a lot of hours into this, like let's say you work on the same thing every day for many hours for a week, you become way more in the zone. Like suddenly your mind opens up to the way it works. Like suddenly, problems kind of solve themselves, and you're increasing your speed. And that's something that you can do to get better and to improve the speed where you do this, right? Because it's not like audio is harder than other things, but you have to learn what it is about audio. So the question is, can we learn it by seeing videos of the audio programmer Juice Framework tutorials? First of all, yes. I also have a few tutorials on that channel. The audio programmer, Josh, is a good friend of mine. I love that channel. You can go there. You'll see me teaching. I have tutorials there about MIDI plugins. I have tutorials there about CMake. I have like general career interviews that we've done there. So I've been contributing to that channel. I love that channel. Yes, I think this would be the channel that you should go to. Like if you, that channel is very good because there's a range of levels there. Like there's stuff that teach you, the very basics where you start from not knowing any C++. There's a really great series that Josh did where he was teaching his son. So they did like this interaction where Josh and his son were like live streaming, just going from zero to a high level. I think it's awesome. You should really watch, a lot. There's great guest speakers there that come once in a while. Like Jatin Chowdhury is there. There's probably one of the best programmers in the world, I think, and all these interesting people. So yeah, definitely go there. And I think every content that you consume is awesome. When I studied audio programming, I was searching for anything I could find on YouTube that has to do with code, DSP, music, C++, and there wasn't that much. We're talking about 2015-ish, and there was just not a lot. And now there's so much really high quality content that will take you through what we need. So yeah, I definitely recommend to spend time to consume content, but also spend time to do stuff. Just do stuff. They'll just like bang your head against the Juice tutorials until you make something that makes sounds, right? It's gonna take you do that and you fight it. And I think, if you're determined, you can do it. I think it's very possible to do it in a reasonable period of time. Yeah. I like your channel too and have great stuff here. And I want to thank you for your contribution to the community. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm also, by the way, one of the mods on the Audio Programmer Discord. If you're there, we have very active discussions there about making plugins and how to write real-time code and UI and libraries and languages. It's so interesting. Definitely check out that Discord. Okay. So again, just to recap what I'm doing exactly right now. So I'm building this program. It's like a music composition software. Oh, there's one more question here that I'll answer. So brother, one last question. Is it necessary to learn C++ or learn Juice framework? I would say yes. I mean, not necessarily Juice, but even though Juice would be good because it will get you at least started, but definitely C++. And the reason is, there's two reasons. One is that if you want to work for a company that makes plugins or audio software, there's a 99.9% chance you're using C++. There's a few other languages that you could be using, like you could be using Rust or something. But even if you write your code in Rust, you still have to learn C++ because everybody else's code is going to be in C++. Like, let's say that you want to learn some algorithm. It's very likely that it's going to be in some library in C++ or C. So so you got to learn that. So you're saying, I think the question is, which one should you learn first? Oh, like which one first? Yeah. So I mean, I would start with just basic C++ for the start, because I think it's going to be very difficult to work with Juice unless you kind of have some control over the semantics of the language. And I think if you learn that, you don't have to be an expert in C++, but you do have to know how classes work, how vectors work, or dynamic arrays of stuff work, how pointers work. You really have to know those mechanics, because otherwise it's a little bit difficult to use Juice. So I think I would start with that if this would be the first thing that I'm learning. Okay. So Or just sent me. He just texted me. It says Or Lubyaneker is my partner in Modalics, who's designing all our plugins and writes all the UI and stuff. One of the things you're going to see is that the UI that I'm going to be doing is going to be like the basic functional UI. There's not going to be anything interesting in it. It's just going to express the functions, and then Or is going to come in and make it nice. Like I'm not. There's no way I'm gonna do anything that's remotely on the level of what he will do, because he will both design the UI and program the entire layout. So I'm just going to like put the basic functionalities in there, and then he's going to come in and make it happen in a good way. So so anyway, what happened is Or just sent me this link. I'm going to bring it up on the screen. He sent me a link to a Figma document. I'm just logging in on Figma on my on the other side. So he sent me a Figma of all the sketches that he makes, and those sketches are not like a design for the plugin, but they're ideas for interaction and ideas for how things could be laid out. Let's see if I can see this. So many projects here. See if I can get it on screen. Okay. So my Figma skills are not great, but I'm going to try to put it on screen. Let's see. Yeah, so Ord made this. Let's see, do I know how to zoom on this? How do I zoom? Command, right? Let's see. Okay, good. Command is, how do I switch to moving mode? I forgot the shortcut. H, right? Okay, good. H is fine because I don't want to change the stuff. So you see, Or makes, like, he doesn't just design the plugin. He writes a big tree of things, of interactions as we evolve. When he comes on the stream later, he's going to show you a bit more on how he developed these stuff, because some of the stuff, it starts from us just talking. You can see how long it's, like each one of these, like a window with different ideas. You can see like there's different statements and different like all kinds of operations in there. Right, there's we've tried all kinds of different ways to express these in the UI. Some of these are just like piano rolls with some function associated with them. That's kind of cool. Maybe an idea that we should revisit, because this is kind of cool. Yeah, and you see here there's some like more like a modular synth connection. So let's see. I think the bottom is where we were just last. What we're trying to do now is we're trying to zone in on how devices, we call them devices, are interacted with, right? So a device is, the way I'm currently expressing this, is a device is a function that takes inputs, could be 0 to multiple inputs, and returns one output. The output is currently the color. So if the color, currently purple is our color for music or for a musical sequence. And there's going to be other colors like green that represent, in this case, they represent an integer, a number. So the idea is that if you have, you see here, I have a purple input and 2 green inputs. So it takes one musical sequence and 2 integers, right? And then when you go to the right here, supposedly is the, this is how the user created this function, because the user can also create custom functions with their own inputs and outputs. So, or single output in this case. So this is the structure that we're trying to go. This is not a design. This is just like a few things put together so that I can work with this, and I'm going to try to implement these different things. I'm going to start with this, actually, this thing. This is the inputs of the device itself, which in this case, they're purple, right? So they're music sequence. So going back to my code, nice. So I was just starting to just clean up this thing that's that my UI depends on. So my UI depends on this thing called a function graph, which is the state for this. It's not a UI object. It just has what's needed for the state to run, because that's usually how we construct things. Because if you use a plugin, in a plugin, the UI could not exist. That's something that some people have a hard time sometimes looking, because if you look at the many web apps or something, there's always a UI, at least that you see. But in a plugin, this is going to be called expressions function graph. Yeah, so the like, for example, if you open like Cubase or Reaper or Logic or something, you can see that you can open the detail for the plugin window with the UI in it, but you can also close it, and the plugin will still be functional. Like, there's still a full operation of the plugin even when the state is closed. And that's something we always design for. Like, we make it so that the state of the plugin is independent of any kind of UI, and then the UI is something that communicates with the state instead of having both of them kind of written together, which will work if you have like just a regular application, but will not work in in something that is planned to be a plugin and something that's going to work in an audio setting. So I'm going to include this. I need a namespace. Yeah, and I will just start by moving things to the CVP file. Good, so it automatically moved everything to the CVP file. Then all I did, good, and then now I did it because that will help me reason about the interface of this, right? Because now I can see which functions are public and how is this meant to be interacted from the UI. I'm going to do the same thing now. Probably will create different files here for this thing called inputs. And I don't know if inputs is such a good name for this, because this is not actually inputs. It's actually should probably be called something like, let's call it function connections. I think that's what it means. Yeah, that's a better name. It's a function. It's a list of connections. It creates this thing that I created called an I/O, which is basically a connection that represents the inputs that go into a function. I'm calling them I/O because an I/O is something that looks like an input from the perspective of the caller of the function, but from the perspective of the body of the function, it's actually an output. Like it outputs a value into the next, the thing that's inside the function. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. As I said before, feel free to let me know in the comments. What do you think? What would you like to know? Etc. So I'll just create a couple of other files here. Let's call these connection. How do I call this? Function connections. Yeah, let's do that. Function connections. And because I ideally I like to have clean files somehow that each will do a singular thing. And I think I find that it helps me to not get lost in the complexity of the code. And this code is very complex already, even though I'm so far from being done. So so function graph, and I can just copy everything that's here. And I probably need the includes as well. I can remove this entire piece of code from here. Let's I think input an expression wrap. That makes sense. For those for those programmers who are seeing this, what I'm doing now is I have this thing called, which is this is based on the Juice system for what they call modules. It's not really specific to Juice. It's just like their style of doing things. And the idea is that there's one CPP file that has a list of other CPP files, and that has one big benefit, which is something that's called unity builds. For those who've never heard of it, but this, in C++, the actual time it takes to build, like to compile, is could be a long time. Like there are projects on the internet that you will grab and try to build, even on a great computer, and it's going to take you an hour or two to compile, and that's horrible because you want to get stuff done. You don't just want to wait for the computer to compile the code. So we do a lot of adjustments to get better build times. And one of them is this idea of unity builds, which is instead of compiling each CPP separately, you compile them together. And this is much faster than compiling them separately because the compiler kind of holds a lot of caches and stuff like that. So the compiler will be able to just use the CPU much better than just asking the compiler to separately compile every CPP file. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to start moving these things into my CP file. Fortunately, I don't need to do this manually. CLion can do most of this for me. It might have problems with this template, so I might do it separately. So this will go here. This will just go to the bottom because it's a template. It has to be visible to other classes. The compiler needs to know not only the name of the function, but it will need to know the full body of the function to compile this, because this will work with a T, with any kind of type, not with a specific type. So, and the same I can do with this probably. Yeah, okay. So I have these two classes. One is a class called the IO, which is what I said was the input. That's both an input and an output. An expression means that it outputs something. And then I have this thing called function connections. These are all just, let's call them like building blocks to create this thing called a function graph. Looks like I imported music here, probably not needed. Okay, let's see that what I did builds. Very good. Very good. Okay, now that I've finished with this, let's have a look at how this looks in the UI side. So the UI, probably should start moving to another module right now. This UI is just like, I stuffed it in the project with a bunch of H files because I was so lazy. But let's get to a point where this gets lengthy and complicated. So I'll start moving it around very soon. So let's start with this thing. It's called langgraph. Good. So it takes a function graph, which is the exact object I was just cleaning up and refactoring. And it already shows this thing called the blocks. The blocks is the inner side of the graph. But I also want to start by showing this inputs thing. This is what's missing. I need to somehow display those different inputs. So I think what I would need to do is do something like struct inputs. This is going to be pretty basic for now. Let's say that I will get let's say that I will get I will take the expressions, let's call it function connections. This is really what I need. So I need the connections. And I also need to take this as an input to this class. This thing, by the way, needs to be a widget. Widget is what we're using for a UI object. Connections to use. I'm initializing this reference with the reference that we got from the outside. Okay. And what this needs to show is a list of things. Probably I'll put them from left to right or something. So I also need something that represents a singular input. I want to say hi to Maker Vishal. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Hi, thank you for joining the stream. So the question is, what are you building? So what I'm building is a composition software, a music composition software that's based on the idea of a functional programming language, but there's no text input in the software itself. It's just conceptually. So as I was showing before, I was showing Or's sketches. This isn't what it's going to look like. This is just us talking about the idea, but there's going to be all these blocks that can, let's see, maybe something, I guess, nicer. Eventually, there's going to be something here where you can, here, this is a good way, run n times, randomize, and kind of create rules for your music to operate on. And when you'll create these different devices, you could make really interesting music. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. There's a great comment here from I'm not sure I want to say the the username, but the comment says, "Ooh, I've never coded. I'm tripping balls. You got cute hair, dude." Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like my hair. And yeah, so basically, and I guess why I'm sharing this is something for people are watching this on a few different channels where we're broadcasting this on. Like this could be in on my X or Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, like all those different places, YouTube. And the idea is that I'm trying to, or we're trying to, or Lubyanika, my partner, and I, we're trying to make find our own take about new ways to compose music. And the idea is that you should be able to create music algorithmically, not just manually or something. So you could give instructions to the computer on how would you like the music to be made. Like, hey, here's this riff, and why don't you, run this riff in a loop, but every third time do this, and then chain this together with the other riff and create a 5-minute piece of music with this idea. Like you should be able to say these things to the computer. Nowadays with language models, right, like ChatGPT and all these ones, it gets interesting to when you express things in words, and having a model that's expressible in words, I think would really help both to the user and to the user who would pass this to an AI. So both of these, there's going to be a lot of expression in this language. This is a much more higher level than a language like MIDI, right? If anybody here has used MIDI just has notes, right? It's just like, here's the notes C, here's the note D, and it should be played this loud. And it's not a very expressive way to talk about music, right? And so if you tell an AI, hey, write MIDI, it doesn't really know anything about MIDI. You have to start teaching it what music is, right? Music is something that's way more than just the notes and the timing of them. So this language is meant to be something cooler, something that you can eventually use to have a higher level of communication with your software. Maker, sorry that I don't know how to say the name, says, you sound like Richard Hendricks from Silicon Valley. I've only watched one episode of Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if I remember who Richard Hendricks is. Let me look up who's Richard Hendricks. Richard Hendricks, Silicon Valley. Oh yeah, so that's like the main guy, right? That's the guy that creates the algorithm in the first episode, right? I know it's so sad. I've only watched 1 or 2 episodes. Is that him, right? Is that the guy? He's the main guy. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Maybe I do sound a little bit like him. Sorry for being very not culturally aware. That's really funny. And there's also this comment that says $, ampersand equals yeah, that's when you think about these stuff, like you can get to expressions like this eventually, right? You can make weird expressions in a functional programming language, but hopefully we will create enough tools for this to be more higher level than this. Like hopefully this will be where things you're doing you could be expressed in human words, right? That's really the goal. Like the idea is that when you communicate with the machine, it will kind of express what you think is your idea about the music. So I know we're not there yet because we're still trying to get our ideas together about how this would be expressed, but we're building with this in mind, right? This, by the way, is not going to be a general purpose programming language. Like you're not going to be able to write something that processes a vector of strings. It's not going to be possible. It's not going to be a Turing complete language. It's going to be something that's higher level and meant to be, inspiring and be very, very focused on music composition. That's also why, by the way, I couldn't use something like JavaScript in here, because JavaScript, or whatever, any kind of language, right? Any kind of high level language that exists already, because I could just implement Python here or JavaScript, and it would give me a way to write music. But I didn't want to do that because those languages have a lot of their semantics are just about being able to drill down into objects. Right? Like there's some array of of a value, and then you should be able to look at all the elements in the array and kind of the climb go over them one by one until you find the one you want. So a general programming language needs to do these low level things that I think are not productive. In the case of music, they are very productive when you want to make software, but I'm trying to do something that's a little bit more higher level and declarative, and not some lower level language. So there's a question here. Why did you decide to use C++ and not Rust, for example? Okay, this is a great question, and it's actually there's a big topic about this lately, not just now but in the last few years, because traditionally audio software used something like C++. Or C, or languages kind of like this, and in the last few years, there are new languages that are trying to be a very serious competitor. So Rust is definitely a big contender in the field. There's other languages like Zig, so Rust, I think, is a very, very good language. It's very interesting. It can do some things that it can do in terms of the language itself, like the expressiveness in language, are better than C++. Like there's some built-in patterns that they've had, like expression, pattern matching, and their macro system is nice and much nicer than the C++ one. So they have a few things that make it a very valuable tool to use. Like also Rust has built in this thing called cargo, which is a way to get packages. And in C++, there's no standard way to do this. Like you have to find some way, like kind of combine a few tools to bring in libraries and packages. So there's a lot of modern tooling about Rust. There's also some safety features that they put in. They have this thing called the borrow checker, which kind of tests for possible lifetime or threading issues, and it lets you it prevents your code from compiling if you did something dangerous. So it's a very, very cool language, and it's also lower level in the sense that it will compile to similar code as C or C++. So it is I would say a very viable solution for audio software. So the question is, why did I not use it, right? So there's a few reasons, but first of all, I don't know it well enough. So that's, I guess, one reason. I do plan to dive deeper into learning Rust at some point so that I will know it better. But the other reason, which I think is kind of critical for this stuff, is because Rust has never traditionally been used for audio, I would pretty much have to write the world from the beginning. Like there's no good libraries in Rust for plugins. There's no good libraries in Rust for UI, which is, by the way, a lot of my code is UI. There are some projects and libraries, but none of them are mature. None of them are commercial. So if I'm gonna dive into them, I'm gonna have to find all these open source projects that are half complete, and I'm gonna need to contribute to them and help them fix their bugs. So it's not like a clean world where, like in C++, where all the libraries that I'm using are libraries that have been existing for a while. Like for example, we're using Juice. Juice is a library that have been making commercial plugins for 15 years, and they deploy on Mac and they deploy on Windows, and there's a UI toolkit, and like it's ready made. Like I maybe my code is not in the language that I chose, even though I think C++ is a beautiful language, but it's much better because I'm going to work with tools that are proven, that are right. Because if I would work with Rust now and I would make a plugin, there's no really stable cross-platform plugin toolkit in Rust. There could be, right? There could be one, but there isn't one. So that's really the choice that I make now. On the I do have to say that for people who've never watched modern C++, and you will see that a lot of my code is using modern C++ paradigms. I think it's a very nice and expressive language. Like I don't, you won't see, malloc in my code or something. Like I'm writing higher level code with scoped things. There's very rarely, like most of the code I would write would probably look very similar in Rust. So it's not like I'm going to be writing in a cave. Okay, there's another question here. Did you hear about Tauri 2? What do you think about using CSS and HTML to do the UI stuff? Okay. Okay, I've not heard about Tauri 2, so I will be searching that. So I can do something like Tauri 2. Front-end independent, hardened foundation for your web apps. Oh, that looks cool. Front-end independent, bring your existing web stack. Huh. That's cool. Build your app. So I'm trying to see what is that a framework? Is that a language? I'm not sure what I'm seeing here. Okay, framework for building tiny fast. Okay, so this is, if I understand correctly, this is a JavaScript. JavaScript or TypeScript, something like that, library, right? For, I'm guessing, right? I need to read more about this, but if I understand correctly, it's some library where you write. I guess it's kind of like Electron, right? I think it's kind of something like Electron where you're by building with Rust or okay. Yeah, so I think it's something like, if I understand correctly, this is something like an Electron, but with a Rust backend. Swartek says Tauri is for Rust UI development. So, but I'm not sure the UI is meant to be written in Rust here. My understanding is the UI is meant to be written in. Oh, okay. I see what happens. Okay, yes. So you should be able to leverage languages like Rust, Swift, and Kotlin for backend logic. But I think the idea is that it's HTML or JavaScript, just like Electron, right? So I think the idea is that you write your backend in a lower level language like Swift or Rust. Both of these are similar to C++, in the sense that they compile to native code. But then I'm guessing they put some bindings in place so that your front-end code will be able to call your back-end code. And this is actually quite a popular theme last few years for a good reason, where people still want to write their UI in JavaScript. I see that there's the original question was also about using CSS and HTML, right? I think you should be able to write front end for an audio software in JavaScript. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think personally, and this now goes into my, let's call it my taste in software. So I totally get why JavaScript is easier for the developer to use, and it's definitely easier to write UI in JavaScript, right? Like it's if you just want to make something like Spotify that has a few sliders and a few text lists and images for the songs and stuff like that, and one player, right, like a meter of the player, there's no reason to not do it in JavaScript. Those apps don't have a lot of interaction. Now, I'm going to say something pretty controversial, so hopefully people will not take this the wrong way. But I think that kind of UI, from the user's perspective, is not good. Like, to me, web UI is a very, it's very slow. It's not responsive. The animations, it's not good. I don't like to use a web app. I mean, sure, I'm using Discord and Spotify, and those are all web apps, basically, built in Electron, and it's okay. They definitely do their purpose. I don't know if those apps would get an advantage from being native, but I come from the world of gaming and professional software like audio, video software. I think those apps would not feel good if they were web. Like, there's, the web has this like loosey-goosey feeling where you get a slider. The slider doesn't exactly go where the mouse is. The animation not always as smooth. If you need like more complex interaction, it kind of snaps into grid because of the HTML places. I don't know. I don't like web UIs. I think they're, again, for simple software where it's just like a text form and a few buttons and video player. Sure. I think it's okay, but I think it's a step backwards in terms of the user experience. I think when you look at really nice software that you like to use, that, especially, talk about audio software, think about something like Ableton Live or, or some video software like, DaVinci. Those things would feel horrible as if they were in JavaScript. Like, there's so much interaction you do with the elements, and you cut things, and you have to do sample accurate. I don't know. It's like I feel like this interaction would just not fly in the web world, even on the basic levels. So I just find I find that to be, again, I understand that if you're learning to program and you realize how easy it is to put the buttons and sliders and a few images in React, then yes, it's going to be easier to develop. But for me, I don't know. I would like to write the actual interaction, make it fast, make it snappy, do animations, and do like, I want to push the UI aspect forward, and not take it back into a web page, which is, to me, kind of. Okay, well, hopefully I answered that. Sorry for the rant. So there's a question here from Makar. Will your software run on some kind of hardware such as Raspberry Pi or a microcontroller? Yes. I don't know if it's going to run on a Raspberry or on a microcontroller, but yeah, it will very likely run on anything that has an operating system, right? Linux-based machines and stuff like that. And I guess the more, I guess people here know me from the plugin world. It will run in a plugin, right? It's going to run in a DAW. It's going to run. In the in Logic, in Cubase, and in Reaper, and Ableton Live, and FL Studio. Like, it needs to run in all these contexts on Windows, on Mac. We'll definitely, if this goes well, there's we might port this into Linux as well. Like, it's meant to run in contexts like this. It can definitely run on a Pi in this case, because Pi has a Linux operating system, so there's no reason for this not to run. It can also run on, the PlayStation 5 or Xbox or any kind of device like this, or on your phone, by the way, which is another. Your phone is another great device that can do quite a lot. Now you can run. I have you can run apps like this on your iPad or your Apple TV or your Android phone or. So this kind of that's also a big reason for this kind of using these kind of languages, C++, etc., because of the portability of making sure this code can run anywhere. Okay, good. So let's keep going. Okay, so I'm back to my code. Let me switch up this. Let me also play a bit of music in my ears because I'm feeling pretty. I wish I could just play the music in the stream. I'm listening to there's a new album that just came out recently by Brad Meldo, who's maybe my favorite artist in the last few years. He's so good. So he got out an album called After Bach 2, which is a sequel to one of my favorite albums of his called After Bach.
Hey.
Oh, look at this.
What's up? I didn't want to scare you.
Wow. Okay, how do I bring you in here? Let's see.
I think I'm already in the stream. Oh, there you go. Yeah, just on side by side. Hey.
Yes. What's up?
How you doing?
This is Olo Bianiker, co-founder of Modalics, who I've just been showing his Figma sketches for the last.
Oh, cool. I sent you the link so you can bring it up and show the nice, because this is the first one we're doing through the Modalics channel. I guess some people might have missed it. Hey everybody! Wow, I see you had some people talking to you. Good to see you.
Yeah. There's been great discussion. There's another question happening here. Let me just answer
Let's go.
That. Do you want to read the question?
Yes. Are you happy with programming on the Mac? Do you have problems with the keyboard layout? That's very much in our line of discussions a lot of times. Like, we're so used to it. I don't know about you. You probably 10 times more than me. But, I'm having trouble with the Windows layout, actually.
Yeah, there was a transition that happened because I think I got my first Mac in 2000, like 10-ish, 9-ish, 2009-ish, something around there.
Okay.
And it took me years. So in the first probably 5 years of me owning a Mac, I just had Windows on it. This is the days where you could have boot camp on a Mac. And because it took me so long to break free from the Windows paradigm. I've been working on Windows for so long. So I guess now, after, at some point I made the transition and I'm like, okay, now I'm used to the Mac, and when I go to Windows, which I do, a few times every week, whenever I go to Windows, I then it feels weird for me, right? Windows feels a bit strange. So with the command control stuff, right?
Yeah. Of course, especially for programming and doing audio stuff, these keys are constantly in use.
Yeah. So now I feel like it's. But if you had asked me this, 8-9 years ago, I'd be like, no, come on, Windows is the correct layout. This is where the control should be. I used to have
the Windows
keyboard. Yeah, there was a Windows key. I used to have a Windows style keyboard. I know, it's amazing how much those habits change. How much I can never look at it the same way now.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing with DAWs. So it's a certain configuration that if you're used to one, it has so many details that if you're used to one, every one of them has basically the same functions, and it's all a matter of where the functions are if you think about it, right? Yeah. And that makes all the difference. So yeah, that's kind of the same. But I don't know. I've also been using Windows forever, and then when we started working together, I think is when you got me into getting a MacBook actually. Before that, I don't know if you remember, but when we first met and started working together, I had a Dell laptop, like from the kind that it's kind of plasticky and clickety-clackety. And the Dells were considered actually pretty solid compared to, ThinkPads and others. But as soon as I got my first MacBook Pro, which I think is by your recommendation, it was like the 2012 model or something.
Yeah.
It's hard to go back, and that was a killer computer. The 2012 and 2015, I think, were amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Like especially compared to how machines looked like back then.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, machines around that time. I'm gonna place you here so I can look at you instead of looking down here to the chat.
All right.
Computers at the time, right before that model, even Macs and even PCs, whatever, they were very, very, very bulky.
Yeah,
They're
right.
very big. Like people forget how we used to carry computers. Like they had a significant size to them. People still do that, which I don't get. But that computer was kind of revolutionary. That 2012 model where they made it pretty thin, but
it was just about the height of a USB port and some change, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly. And it was for then was very, very much like a revelation of like what it feels like to carry around a computer, and also the performance.
The screen was thin as well. Sorry.
Screen was thin, yes. But you know what? The screen was also thin. The Mac that I had before that, check this out, was a 17-inch MacBook Pro. There used to be a thing like that.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, because when they switched to Retina, they stopped making 17-inch. Now they have a 16-inch, by the way, but it's not the same. That 17 was big.
No, I didn't see 17. 17 is a beast.
It's a beast. It's so big.
Huge.
It's so big.
Yeah.
I love how big the screen was. You know.
But in terms of weight and mobility, it's a huge difference.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would get shoulder pain. I would carry it on my bag on my shoulder, and it hurt so much when I would.
Yeah. Bookmarks in your browser. Is he referring to tabs? Do you have tabs open with all sorts of kooky things?
Oh, maybe I've shown my bookmarks. Oh, my bookmarks in my browser. Let's see what they are. Let's see. I think
that's a fun game.
Yes. Okay. These are fun. I'm looking. At first, I thought there was something something wrong in there or something. But no, it's. Let me show this. This is really stupid. So
let's do bookmark highlights, and each one will share like 2 or 3 bookmarked things.
Let's do it. So I'm just going to open a new browser window so that there's no crazy loop. Switch into this. Here we go. Okay. So let's see what these things are. I'll make this.
There's the bookmark bar.
This thing probably, right? So let's see what's here.
Show them our bank.
This is my bank. this is my bank. I'm not sure. Nothing is interesting in here.
Yeah.
This is the Juice forum, right? We talked about Juice before. This is like probably one of our U-Track, like a task page for releasing Mindset drums. This is ChatGPT, right? Everyone knows what that is.
Crucial.
These are my, some of my boring hobbies. Like I like the UFC or MMA. I'm sure this is completely random. But
where is the League Pass, the NBA?
It's probably, might not be in the bookmarks because I always use it on the app.
Yeah, that's true. I have to say, worst app ever.
And so there's a KVR DSP forum, but this is the most fun thing. I got to show this. This is the best link that I've ever clicked. I think I've sent this to you. Okay.
Yeah, I know this article. It's brilliant.
This is a blog about a thread on Reddit where people were asked, so stupid, where people were asked to write the worst volume button in the world. And these examples here are incredible. Or do you want to analyze those for me? Every one of those examples?
Well, to give a user experience professional perspective.
Yes.
So this
analyze the UX on this. Let's put you on screen.
Yeah. So the first one, as you can see, you need to tilt the entire slider in order to really pinpoint, and use balance to create. This is making me feel really sick, actually. So this is annoying to the point of I'm having trouble describing. This one is great though. The one that loads the. Wow, that's actually like I don't hate this one. I guess the catapulting of the slider is it can be somewhat fun. If this control doesn't do anything important, if it's your DAW master volume, fuck that a million times. But yeah, it's a pretty fun one. So the advanced volume control below is is for. I have to say, working in pro audio for so many years and working with engineers, I do know some software engineers that would think this is a very viable thing to show. I think we both know some engineers like that that would be like, what do you mean? Like this is the way it should be, because there's 100 values and here's all of them. Here's all of them. It makes perfect sense, because I wrote a command that displays all the values, and here they are. So you can go to hell, product guy. Moving on. The current volume level and change. That's also, if you like to live dangerously, that's it's a fun one.
You know, I feel like this is the kind of things where there's a product manager that says, "I want to have just one button. I want
Yeah,
it to be
that's the other
simple.
one.
Just give me one button."
That's the other way around. It's the product manager that goes too hard in the paint. Yeah, and also like this is the jump scare version of volume knobs, where you click like 3 times and it goes like 8, 13, 99, and then the third one. I've seen this before. Why am I still laughing?
It's so good, right?
The curling one is just amazing. I don't know much about curling. I do know that broom thing is supposed to mitigate the movement of the disc, and I guess that's what it does. That's just so cool. So we do have a we do have maybe a topical question here. Can you give some cool HTML or CSS script? Because I have a school project. I should have read ahead of time, but that's pretty funny. But maybe if you could make the question more specific, what is your school project about? Is it just writing any script, or I mean, I guess maybe we could help out in some way, but.
Yeah, and also these are classic questions for an AI. I have to say, like this is the kind of thing.
Yeah,
that, you know, like I've been using Gemini lately. Gemini is Google's version of ChatGPT. It's very, very good for code specifically.
Yeah.
So I'm literally going to copy and paste this question and see what it does.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Can I copy paste here? Oh, no, I'm this.
You
thing
should
that I'm
you
in.
should be able to.
No, I don't know why it doesn't let me copy. Can I copy?
You can type it out. There's a
Yeah,
second
let me
to do that.
yeah, let me type it manually because this chat thing that I'm using doesn't let me copy. So I'm typing. Can you give some cool XHTML or CSS script? Because
You're gonna
I have
a school.
a school project. By the way, I know this is gonna sound fun, but this thing is called. When you spell it like this is actually the way the King Crimson spelled their projects. So that they made this, and one of the participants in the projects was actually here on the chat earlier.
Oh, cool.
Marcus Reuter. Yeah. So this is kind of to me kind of cool. Projects with CSS and HTML. There you go. There you go.
Animated navigation menu. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. You know what? I've done some JavaScript in my life, but most of the JavaScript I've done was backend. It was like Node.js stuff, but I've never. I mean, I've done a little bit of like HTML, but never in a way where I could actually recommend this to somebody. So. Oh yeah. So somebody says that. Project is the German version of project. Yeah, exactly. I think in Crimson, how do they spell it? It's like they have a King Crimson project, right? Yeah.
Oh,
so
it's
they actually,
KC.
it's a KC actually.
Wow, that's really redundant. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's
Okay.
But I wouldn't remember something like that. So are we gonna keep reviewing the worst UX user experience? What is this one?
I don't know. You can see the whole thing. Here it is.
We have automatically adjusted your volume based on latitude. To change your volume, simply move your device to a new location. That's
So
too much.
It'd be funny if you had to climb the mountain to make the volume louder.
Yeah, or if you're like in somewhere really low, like you'd have to move in, like take your device and drive somewhere just to
Yeah.
listen to something. It's a pretty good one, but I like the next one much better. Please make a noise as loud as you want the volume to be. It's just like just like scream into the. It's like, what kind of noise? Oh my god, what is this one?
So good.
This is giving me an ulcer. This is terrible. Why are we doing this?
Come on, these are so good, such good stuff.
We're supposed to like reinvent the
No,
user
look,
experience
it's
for
the
creating.
the tilt of the screen.
It's the lid. Oh, that's actually a clever one. That's actually one that I'm impressed by. How do you think that works? Is there like a sensor that says how much? It's probably the light sensor from the camera or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Color action.
So you have to catch the center to increase it, right? So if you only, this looks like a free throw in.
I was just about to
2K.
say this is the reason I don't do the workout drills in 2K. It's like, I just hate pinpointing, like clicking on the. Anyway, what is this, like a Minesweeper version? Or
Yes.
You should avoid the red ones if you wanna. I get it.
But you have to catch the one you want. Right?
It's
plus,
sort of
minus,
a
and mute.
Yeah, it's sort of the Frogger version. I don't know.
Yes, look at this.
Clippy. Do you remember when we did Bass Slapper? We had the idea to have Slappy, like the
Yes.
Clippy for the slap bass lines. It looks like you suck. Do you need a hand with your bass line?
This looks like our project, by the way, right?
How do you mean?
Bend 1, bend 2, and multiplier, and then the numbers give you the.
Oh yeah, this is like basically a depiction of a circuit. So you have to actually electrical engineer the level you want to have, which is again, we know some DSP guys that would just say, yeah, this is how you do volume. Desired volume for the next frame.
Yeah, so you watch the video frame by frame and adjust the volume, and then you get asked every frame.
Yeah, it's like keyframing in Premiere Pro. It's like,
yes.
How would I know?
I love this one.
What, the Pong?
The Pong.
Oh, when this side wins, it goes up. When this side wins, it goes down.
And you play both of them at the same time, right? So
oh, that's way worse. That makes it way worse. At least if you played with someone, it'd be a fun game where if he wins all the time, you get like crazy loud noise in your headphones or something.
This is, by the way, like a bitwise operations.
Yeah.
0 and 1s.
Wheel of volume. Some of these are actually like technically impressive, and some of these are straight up just idiotic, like the wheel of volume. Now the subscription one we need to learn from as a company.
So the free one is
volume set to 100. Volume set to 100%. Oh man!
But if you, I love that the $29 that has a private mode, right? Because that implies that the other ones are just telling everyone what volume you use or something.
Yeah, it doesn't know volume privacy. Everybody would know how loud you want your music. What is this one about? They changed the
Not sure.
location of one of them, or am I missing something here?
No, I have no idea. So it's a CD, it's a different DVD for each level of the volume.
Yeah, I caught that. I don't like this one. There are a lot of Rick-rolling ones, which I think is a kind of a tired meme in some sense. That's a fun one. It's a fun website. How do you
Yeah.
control this one?
This is actually regular. I think this is like all up and down, but then there's a filling bar in this.
That's not too bad.
No.
I mean, it sucks, but sucks less than the others. That was fun, actually. We should find stuff like that to review here and there. This was like a very specific example, but we could probably find some user experience things to review.
Yeah,
Could be cool. Even positive stuff, not just like the worst shit ever. If we find some stuff that we actually like and say what we like about it, could be a nice little segment.
Come on, I thought it was positive. I thought a lot of these were just, I mean, they were like the worst experience ever, but they were so well designed. Like when you think about the, especially the ones that had, they had like some game interaction, like the Pong one and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I said, that it's the kind of dichotomy between it's technically impressive since somebody came up with it and programmed it, but then others are just like, silly. But there's some aspects of it which I really appreciate that people thought of and implemented. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So okay. So I want to go back to exactly what we were working on. So just to give context to people just joining, whatever, we're developing some new way to compose music. We're in the process of doing this. So in these streams, we will show us discussing product concepts, and will be coding. Where I got last is that we were the code before you joined is I was just doing the UI implementation of the list of outputs.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Do you want to walk through this with me, or do you want to talk about something else?
I'll just you keep at that, and I'll work on something in parallel, and maybe we can, kind of sync up in a few minutes.
Yes. Awesome. Perfect. So
and I'll jump in here and there.
Perfect. So so this is where I was just now.
Volume up, volume down.
Can I move you to the other side? Is that a thing, or no? So I'll just move me to the other side because I can keep you on screen.
You can either not show me or have me really small. I probably won't say anything for a few minutes because I wanna work on exactly the same thing but on the UI side.
No, I think it's okay. I'll just, but I can just move me into this corner, right? So that's how both of us are on screen. Cool. Okay, so getting out of this. Out of this and into something more productive. Okay, so back in code land, back in C++ land. What I was trying to say is that I'm trying to find a way to in my UI. I'm just writing a little bit of like very simple UI code. I want a way to create a singular input, which will then be in a list of inputs. And I didn't create the singular input yet, so I probably should do something very basic, like struct inputs. I wonder if, or you know what, I'm going to call it a better name. I'm going to call it function inputs, because I also have inputs on a device, which is different. So I need to not confuse these. So this will be function input, singular one. This is also a widget, which means it's a UI object in our little language. And what this should take is, it's probably one of these, like an expression, right? Yeah, I think this is what this should do. So this actually shows this thing called DSP expression, which is like a general name for something that usually can take 0 to many values. In this case, it would just have 0 to many inputs. In this case, and this expression specifically can only have one input, and it will never change. So it's a special kind of expression, but it also outputs a singular value of that type. So this would be a DSP expression, DXPR or something. Expression, XPR to use. Ooh, come on, XPR to use. Good. So I'm going to initialize this, and uh, so the DSP expression can first of all tell me the name of that expression, which is gonna be useful. So I'll have something that will show the text. I have something like a text display. I think this is what I need. Yeah, I'm just gonna get. What was I using for text display in other places here? I have something like a resizable text. Let's see what I was doing. The rest of the UI. Resizing text display. So I'm going to take something like sorry, the album in my what I'm hearing on my Spotify playlist changed, and it started to play. You're not hearing the music, right? No.
No.
Okay. No. So it was just a little bit distracting because I had like a piano album that was playing, then suddenly a clarinet was playing. So it confused
Terrible.
me.
Terrible. Unforgivable.
Or which instrument were you playing when you started out with music?
Exactly that, clarinet. No, actually, no. It's like I played like a Casio keyboard at first, and
Okay.
yeah, I was a pretty dope Casio kid.
I love that you can start with a particular brand of an instrument. Like it's like which instrument are you playing? Oh, I'm playing a cheap Chinese Fender imitation guitar.
No, but
right?
But you exactly knew what I was talking about
Yes,
the moment
yes.
I said like
Yes.
I played the cheap Casio. You imagined me playing the demo track and miming like it's me playing and all that. That's part of the trade.
Okay.
You
okay.
get it. Yeah.
Okay, so where was I? What just happened? Okay, I'm going to go to my line graph, and it is function input. So I think I called it resizing text display. So we select the name. And it's going to take a it's going to need to be undername because first expression is initialized, then we do expression dot name, I guess, and the size is something like that. It's a percentage. So 5% might be really big. So which number did I use? Some other. Yeah, 5%. Okay, that makes sense. And I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's 5% of the main UI, not 5% of this. But I need to look deeper into this. Yeah, so I think this is kind of what it does. And let's start by displaying the name. I think it will look good if I display that. So then I'm going to add this. And I'm going to have the name be the same size as the UI. So the question is, what UI library are you using right now? And the answer is, we're using our library, but it's built on top of Juice, right? There is a Juice classes in it, but almost all the classes that I'm using and the functions are based off patterns that we found. So we built this really nice library that expresses many patterns that we use.
And we also have an entire system that allows us to kind of change location and sizes of elements in real time. It's a pretty cool thing that Eyal came up with to help speed up the process of design, because it's just the two of us basically doing the coding and implementation of the UI.
Exactly. So we have Arthina in here, Elanda from the audio programmer Discord, who is a very good
welcome.
programmer. Knows way more than me about templates and about quite a lot of other things. Yeah. So you will see that this thing, like, just to give you a very big example, this thing called widget. So this thing is very boring. It inherits from a Juice component. right? But it adds a bunch of things that I like to do. For example, in Juice, let's say that I would have multiple text boxes here, like name, and let's say I have some other random value, right? I would have maybe a bunch of different labels in here. Maybe I'll have, I don't know, title, right? I would have multiple things on screen, not just one. So in Juice, for example, or in plain Juice, you would have to do this: add and make visible name, add and make visible value, add and make visible. Like I hate that. Like I don't like this. This is just boring typing to me. So we just do add children, name, value, title. Much nicer. Same thing with this line, scale to fits. In Juice, you would write something like name dot set bounds, get local bounds, and then the same thing with value. And then the same thing with the other one, right? If you want to make it all be in the set of the parent. So we just do name, value, title. Much nicer with one word. There are other advantages to how this works. Technically, this also does something different than set bounds. This does, when we'll go into deeper scaling, this does stretching. It allows itself to apply a partial transform. Which would mean things resize more smoothly. So there's a lot of little things that we build on top of this, and this is just like the basic usage. You'll see very soon that we build a lot of different things on top of Juice for our own use cases. So yeah, okay. Hopefully that answered it. Now let's go try something more substantial. So what I'm doing is I want to write something that represents a singular inputs. Let's I want to maybe open Aura's Figma thing on screen.
I actually just found a really nice looking way to display the same thing, but show the old one first until I'm done with this one.
Okay. Can I load the Figma, or are you the Figma?
Yeah, I'm working on another area altogether, but I did change it to be all black background, so I don't know if it's good for the stream. So if it's not, let me know.
Okay. Wonder I still see my bookmarks. I was trying to remove them. They were trying to.
Just open the bookmarks, and it says show bar. No, in the click the three dots on the upper right, and bookmarks and lists. We could probably an easier way, and then show all bookmarks or something. Show bookmarks bar. It's a teeth breaker. Oh, it does nothing. Oh, hide bookmark bar. Nope. Never mind.
Hide, make it disappear. No, not gonna happen. I'm stuck with it. Yes, I'm stuck with it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So ignoring my stuff, I want to go to Figma.
You can just click the link in the email I sent, but oh, okay, it's just it's ready.
Yeah, the good thing about me not being such an avid Figma user like you is that I just have one project and it's the one you sent me.
Oh, cool.
Like it's not like I have other stuff I'm creating in Figma other than looking at what you're doing. So that's good. Okay, so what I'm trying to represent really, or is also working here on the other page. So I'm trying to represent this. This thing. This purple
you have a
box.
slightly sorry for interjecting. You have a slightly better version below where it actually says the name of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just trying to represent this. It's going to be a box. Purple is a temporary color that we picked for the type, right? There's going to be different types in this language. So this is going to be a type called music, or a musical sequence or something. Okay, that makes sense. Let's have a look. Okay. This is the worst question ever to send me.
I'm trying to get my girlfriend into learning Figma, but she's overwhelmed. That's a question that takes so many twists and turns, Like at first I was like, yeah, I can talk a lot about learning Figma, But then to make it more rewarding, um, you want me to do like a crash course in it? It's not crash course in Figma, but to show what I find to be rewarding sometimes in working with it. Maybe just
Yes, do
quick
it now.
detour, quick detour, just because it's a interesting question. So basically, I I didn't learn Figma anywhere. I just needed to make audio products, and I knew this is a platform to make the assets and design. So I just figured it out. So that's not a good answer. But what gave me the drive to do it was, first of all, to have a vision in mind of something worth working for. So for us, it was making a plugin for your girlfriend. She just needs to find a project that she's excited about. It could be something you guys are doing together, or maybe even if she likes a certain type of website, she could like visualize that and maybe even eventually create the website, because you don't have to use Figma just for assets for apps. You know, it's good for anything. And it also is a very robust prototyping system, which means that you can actually like make interactions and sort of prototype how an app would actually work with animations and all that. But if I go to like the core concept, what I figured out is something pretty interesting, is the fact that because it's such a basic platform, that what you're dealing with is basic shapes, basic colors. You know, we have places where we just showed this one. This is not an actual app. This is just something I made in Figma when we were designing BeatScholar. That is a very elaborate kind of enticing thing to put in front of us, so we have like a motivation to work. But before having that, what I like to think about is simply let me go back to where I was. Simply working with contrast to create an interesting object. So I would always start with something abstract like a square, and then I would say, well, what is the most coveted thing? What is the most desirable thing in this app? So in BeatScholar, it was the pizza. So I would take a circle and give it the color. Now we have the black circle in the middle of the white square, right? And it's not very interesting. But if you think about it like a story, this is like the main character, and this is the backdrop. So this is the city, and this is the guy in the city doing something. And then I start to imagine and say things about it. So this needs to stand out even more. So I'll have it drop a shadow, and then I'll give it another layer of character, like a gradient or something cool. Maybe something that doesn't resemble the flag of Japan's flag so much. But so now it's at a point where I want to discover more and more about the object using the basic elements. So all I did was draw two shapes, decide their colors, add a gradient, and now I'm in the zone of I want to keep exploring how I can make this unique using these basic elements. And this is for me, this is the appeal. So, you know, I can, if I just keep going and I learn that the gradients can be radial as well, this creates another sort of layer. Now I can imagine that, because I like pedals and knobs and whatever, I can imagine that this is a knob that sits inside, another kind of half knob, and something interesting is also happening here. So I'll duplicate it, and I'll give it a sort of value going the other way, and change the gradient to do something like. So that's the way. Here we go. There's like a secondary sort of thing going on, and now I imagine the user doing something cool, like adjusting this and then turning the knob. So this is what gets me going. So it's a sort of layered approach where I imagine this special thing, and then I give it more and more and more character until I absolutely think this is the coolest ever. And then doing something like, well, the background needs some love, so I can give it, maybe I'll give it this sort of, I'm in the mood right now to do a sort of a dark themed UIs with matte colors. So maybe if I do this, and then you're actually watching what I'm doing for most of Modalics' products at almost day one. right now. Radial, and then so I like doing UIs and thinking about cool stuff that makes sound, and I can even start like just to get inspired even before we actually know what the product is. I'll find myself sketching things that I find interesting in this sort of layered approach, just working with the very basic shapes, the very basic capabilities, and going deeper and deeper layer until I'm actually like curious about these things. But it's also a matter of persistence and motivation. So I hope this didn't go on too long, but yeah.
No, I think it's great. Come on, I'm getting
So-
work done while you do this. So it's great.
That's cool. It's actually something that I've just spent a lot of time thinking about, and I love showing that you don't need to learn every single button everywhere in order to get going. You need to know how to draw a rectangle, draw a circle, and then have them in different colors. And just using these two elements, you can just construct like what I'm doing right now. Sorry, one last thing that I'll show.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is taking what Eyal just showed, which is this structure, and I'm trying to find the appropriate, let's call it sexy UI way to display the external inputs in the top toolbar here. So they will eventually become something cool like this, like these little flags that tell you they're clickable, and they're sort of latched on the top of the top toolbar here. And by the time I'm done with this version, it would be much closer to how we'd want the experience to be in terms of calculating what's the appropriate size for each one, and color coding. So this is the second layer I've just entered. In parallel with what we're doing for our initial prototype, I'm trying to already imagine deep into the future what the interactions would be like. And we have this approach where we constantly look into the end result product, or try to look into the product, and then kind of sweep back to the point of prototyping to sort of always understand where we are, what's missing, and identify trouble spots. And that's the advantage in working like this, like I showed in Figma, that we have this is the part of the success of our development cycle, is the fact that I'm able to generate pretty extensive UIs in a matter of like an hour or two, and Eyal is kind of the same way in prototyping. So we keep kind of clashing these elements together to understand how to break them down into tasks and what we want to do. So yeah, that's thank you.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm honestly, I'm really happy that you're talking more about these things. We've talked about it between us more, because I think the process that you're doing of when you're I just showed that when you were before you went to the stream, when I showed like this tree of development, right? I think this is something people don't really realize, that it's not like you sit in front when you make a product. It's not like you. I see there's all these projects on online where people basically like they say they take somebody's plugin or some existing plugin, and then they're like, okay, they change the way the slider looks. You have these like UI designs that people do, but I think people don't get that when you're working on something. First of all, there's this great chunk of time where you don't know which kind of buttons belong, what's the graphical languages of the product. Like, nothing. It's early, right? You don't design a final result. You design you can and because in your case you're not the UI designer. You're the product designer. Like, you make things in the product happen while you're making the UI. And there's all these moments of development where and you can see it in your Figma tree, right? Like how much your thought about the product is evolving.
So that's the thing. Like you basically visualize your current level of understanding of what the product is, and at the same time you try to visualize something that you might not understand yet, but it's the thing that makes you happy to look at. It's if you showed my initial drawing of Thema. So
Yeah.
it was something that I had like little icons that I imagined that do cool things, but I had no idea what they do. But I did like the idea of I put that in front of us, and it made us go, cool. We want to develop something like this, and now let's figure out what that is. That's a huge part of a product manager's position is basically to just make the product look worthwhile for the people involved in it. I think like that's something that maybe some people are missing out in product management. It's like it's not just about the features and the MVP and whatever. It's about getting people excited about it, and the people that need to be excited are sometimes yourself and the person programming it, and the graphic designer. I mean, all these roles are us, but even in other companies, that's yeah, and having good graphical chops is pretty substantial for that. I recall when I was doing some projects for Waves, and there was one project in particular that I designed an entire user interface with every button and amp and knob and everything before I had a single line of text. I had some text written down, but I just got excited about the way it looks, and people were like kind of baffled by it. They didn't understand why I didn't go like a more traditional route. But then it helped me deliver the message. So you put a picture in front of somebody and you say, how would you like to use this thing? And it says so much more, and it drives people's emotions so much more than saying, I have an idea and here's 4 pages of text that you need to go through in order to understand it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll go back to, hopefully it will take me like, 10-15 minutes until I have something worth showing here.
Awesome. I think it's awesome because people don't really we've made a ton of work on this product just in the last 2-3 days. I was streaming a little bit of it, doing coding, but while that was happening, or was conceptualizing, bringing me these mock-ups and designs, and then I was getting inspired by them to do the coding. So we have this iterative process where it's not like there's like Ori says, it's not like we have a design document or something that says, here's what the product is, go design it. It's like I don't have it on the code side as well. Like we have it, like we're making it up as we go along, and we have pushbacks where we'll see something and it's not going to work. We go back and say, okay, let's do it in a simpler way, or let's do it in a more in a way that's more uniform with other parts of the product. That's something else we're trying to think about, because sometimes we'll create this mechanic, and then we'll see it, or I'll program it, and then we'll realize, okay, well, this is actually the same as another part of the product. Maybe we shouldn't make it 2 different things. Let's make it one thing. So exactly. You're actually catching us, and it's interesting for us to stream that live, because usually what we do is we stream live only when a product is finished, and then we show something that's it has great design and it sounds good, and we're kind of vibing with the results. Mm-hmm. And here you're seeing us very much in the trenches of this.
Yeah, going through the motions.
Yeah, so what I was showing, let me go back to this thing again. Let me switch me back. Okay, so what I was showing before is I just started to write a mock UI of this input list. I'm calling this. It's the inputs that are going into a function. I'm almost finished, basically, and then maybe there's a few bugs. I was writing this very quickly, but I'll go and explain what I'm doing, because even though it's basic, I think it's going to be hopefully useful to me to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put the inputs just here at the top, full width, and a 10% height. I think that should be okay. I don't need this anymore. This is not true. And let's see. I think it's going to be empty, but it should still compile. I hope. Let's see if I didn't screw something up. I did screw something up. Of course I screwed something else. Come on.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay. Why did my RAM go up by 1.5 gigabytes?
Man, this dude this dude is on the money.
Yeah.
Like everything that goes on your screen, he catches.
Yes, and it's because I'm using a beta version of Sea Lion, and they have a bug where you add something in your code and it starts to eat up all your memory. That's what I'm getting by using a beta version of my IDE. There's bugs, and honestly, they have bugs even in the full version. But yeah, I just ask it to clear the memory because like, you're definitely right where they whatever they did ate up all my memory.
What do you do, Swartex? Like, what field are you from? I'm guessing kind of relates to what we're doing, but I'm curious.
So so what I was doing, I was just trying to do this thing, and I guess I screwed up because function input takes an expression, and I think this is a pointer. So I think this is why this doesn't compile. I wonder why this doesn't show me the error, but I think it just can't parse or can't figure this out because it's there's quite a lot of templating happens for this nice call to happen. It's not it. Create derived visible. I thought that's it. I'm creating a function input. Oh,
Cool. I sorry, I just answered. I appreciate you jumping in and talking to us, and I hope you know this is somewhat beneficial for you. So if feel free to jump in and ask anything. We're here for that.
okay. So all I did now was I added this little thing. You see, this is the thing that I had before that shows the different blocks, but I added this bar here that currently just has one plus button.
Mm-hmm.
But it should show the actual inputs. But the thing is, this device does not have any inputs yet. So so let's add a way to have inputs in it. So let's make the plus button do something interesting. Yeah, so currently, I think, so instead of doing it resizing text display, I might just have it a text button first. And this takes, the string and the function to do on the button. That's great. So, instead of passing this, I will pass a function that will do something, will add something. So I will need to pass in this object, function connections. To use. And then let me just store this as a reference right here. Oh, it's not functions, it's connections. Connections to use. Connections, I think that's correct. So it's going to be called connections. Connections will be initialized with the connection that I'm passing in. And then I should be able to create an actual function here. When I say probably don't, you know what? I probably don't need to even pass this entire thing, but I can just pass the function probably. But yeah, it's just, I guess, a hacky way to do this just for now. So I can now do, so the function will be something like create void create, right? So it's going to be some create function, and this function would be for start, I'm just going to do something like create of type, I think it's going to be something like type int. Right, and I think maybe it needs the name. Is that it? Yeah, it needs the name. So the name, for the name, what I'm probably going to do is I have this function that I've already used, in the previous stream, which is about getting just a unique letter. So it's going to be A, B, C, but also check that this letter has not existed yet. Let's see where I have this function. Maybe I can reuse it. So I made that function. It's something like get unique name. Where did I put this function? It's somewhere in the state. Where did I use that? Somewhere around expression map. That function is called generate unique ID, and it takes a that is exactly the function I need. So I need a function that generates a unique ID, but it takes a function that asks if the thing already exists, right? So that's how I can use it in a generic way with other types of containers, right? And because this is I'm going to use it on a completely separate container, completely different objects. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my function connections and create, and here I'm going to also use this. So if you pass a manual name, which is what I did here, I'm going to give it the manual name, but I will create another version. It will not take a name and will just assign a new name. So it's going to be something. So I need to supply a function that says, how do we know that this name is already in use? That's what the generic function that we imported wants to do. So I need to do something like exists equals. It needs to be something like so this thing is a map vector. So I probably need to do something like, do I have no, I think I need to for loop over everything. So I have to go over this function needs to take a const token, and this will go over connections, and this needs to test if connection dot second dot get name is equal to token, right? So if it exists, return true, and if it went through everything and didn't find anything, return false. So this is the function, and then what I do is, can I get this unique thing? Do I have access to this, or did I put it private? So I need to include the expression wrap. It's called get you generate unique ID. That's what I need. Okay, so now that I have this function, I can do something like create with the type of T, and it's going to get the generate unique ID.
He's saying he's watching our stream while he's at work, or she. I don't know, but don't worry, your secret is safe with us, and you can consider this actually like work, like training. You should, if anybody looks, it does seem like you're learning about coding, which isn't a bad thing to do.
Yes. I agree.
And Arthena is saying she'd love to see a stream about discovering the new Juice 8 stuff, which is something I guess you're probably the guy to walk through, right?
Yes, we would probably do that about the new Juice features. I know people in the Juice community are very excited about the JavaScript bindings that they've added. I've tried them, but I'm not an expert at it. But I built this stuff and got it to work. I think the biggest thing about Juice 8 for us is in Modalics, is there's a new graphics backend there that's using graphics backend for Windows specifically. It's using, I think, Direct 2D. That should really improve performance. So I think this would be
we had a terrible time with UI on Windows, like.
The old Juice backend was not very good. And hopefully I didn't test with our new stuff, but I probably should, because it's. I think this will be really good to to show that. There's a couple of other new stuff. I forgot what else they have that's new. Let's see. I'm just gonna go to Juice 8. Let's see what else is new that I forgot. WebView is the JavaScript backend. Improved Unicode. Oh, they have emojis. That's actually pretty awesome. I did not try that. New full features animation module. We have our own animation module, so I'll see if this is interesting. I'll be very interested to see what the API is. That actually is the one that I would be really interested to see if they made it nicer than an API that I wrote for similar things for animations. This is really what we need. It's a direct 2D. And this is something, I mean, most people will not even know this is a thing, but this is actually really cool because this is to do with AAX, the Pro Tools format. And now it's included, which means that you don't have to build it separately. And building it separately was actually a little bit difficult in the past. So I like that it did that. That should make it much easier. So that's great. Okay, so this was Juice 8. And now I am back to cleaning up a little bit of my code here. And then I will do something like, what do they want from me? It's not true, you're lying. I've tested this function already. I will do something like using check text func equals this. I don't like types that take like half the function. I think I like to make it separate and then make the function have the type. Makes it easier to reuse. Great. So then I will go to this other place where I've been with the list of function connections and implement the exact same function pretty much. So yeah, I go through that. And then I will create T with unique ID, or I need to return that actually. Okay, let's see if now I can use it. This should be my add function. The reason why I did it was that we wanted so that when you add a new input, which I was just about to add a new input, this would auto assign a letter to this without the user having to type a name. Because otherwise, what I could do is, when you click input, I can have a text box in that says, "Give me the name." But I'm just going for simplicity, for going for something where you click plus, it's A. You click another plus, it's B. And then if you want to have another name, I will probably in a few minutes we'll add a rename functionality. Okay, good. So we've talked about that. Let's keep going with these on the UI side. So I just need to implement a function that I will pass into the plus button. This is my plus button. And let me implement this function. So instead of passing in a name, I will just call it with no arguments. This is the feature that I just made. Could be named const. Probably not true. I hate when C++ does this. That this can even be done. Like I can even call this function from a const context. Yeah, so this should probably be it. Let's see if this is going to work and if my plus button is going to do what it meant to do. What did I forget? Am I not initializing this correctly? Takes the text and the callback. This is the callback. No matching constructor. Oh, because I'm not passing anything, but I need to pass it the connections. So the question is, oh, you made your own animation system? Yeah. We had to, if you think about how things, I don't know if you've seen things in our previous products work. So for example, here's a good example, something like Big Scholar for iPad has these like smooth transitions when you kind of switch between panels, stuff like that. Some of
Mine's
them
Drums also has some of that, I think.
Yes, yeah, we have a lot of things that would require you to move and morph from one thing to another. So we have a lot of code that related to how do you express all kinds of like timed animations in a generic way. Okay, so I do this, and here you go, plus button, but this plus button does not plus. Let's see why. Or maybe I did plus and just my maybe it's not updating. Let's see why not. So maybe this was called. Yes, my plus function was called, but I think the thing that should update is not listening to the right thing. Right, then the functions connections. Oh, that's right, because I'm not listening to the right thing. I have a what I call a size listener here, and it's not listening to the right thing. What it should be doing is listening to connections, or I think I could just do star connections to reach directly. So this thing should listen to the size of this container. Usually I do updates in some other way, but this is a simpler way to make connections from the state, a list of things in DOI. So plus, here you go. It's called D. Oh, here's the bug. I'm adding another one. Ooh, it does not let me add another one. So the first one worked, but that's it. That's all you get. Just one click.
The next one is the Pro version.
Pro version. Yes,
like
just
the
like
subscription for the volume.
Yeah, right. Pay more if you want to add more than one.
Yeah.
If you want to click twice.
First device is free.
Okay, let's see why. I mean, this should be created. Well, yeah, if this is true, return true. So this is not called. It is called. Oh, wait. Yeah, it looks like the naming thing did not work. So the name is a problem. Yeah, because it keeps overriding the same name. That's weird. Yeah, somehow A managed to get through. So that means probably my testing function is not fully correct. Let's see why. Right, it checks if it exists. And this goes over all of them. Here's the connection. Connection second. Do get name. Let's see what's wrong with that. Name is Q. Okay. Yeah, it seems like right around the first time it replaced it. That's an awesome question. The question in the comment is it a calculator?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's a calculator.
Yes,
yeah.
Basically everything, the universe is a calculator. Depends on the resolution you're looking at, but everything is a calculator. So this thing too.
Do you remember the Seinfeld episode with the what was it called? Like the smart, not a smart watch, like a smart.
Oh yeah, the watch with that go the beep beep beep. No, the one with the Anyway, I remember the one.
I think it was the thing. I think it was something about Jerry's parents, where like he bought his dad something, and they wanted to use it to calibrate to calculate the tip, and he keeps explaining no, it can do so much more. No, I just want to make sure that I know how much tip to live at the restaurant. I need some big calculator basically.
There's always something. It's like the astronaut pen. It's always stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think so anyway, it looks like I did something silly with this function. But anyway, just to give some context, this is a music composition software that will let you chain all these expressions together to create interesting music. So technically, it is a calculator, but it will
Yeah,
calculate,
that's what
it will calculate music.
Yeah, it's a musical calculator, but it would have an interface that doesn't feel like a calculator. It should feel like a nice little product that helps you get inspired about making music quickly.
Exactly. Hopefully that makes sense. Um,
I'm really digging the style I have going on here.
yeah. Do you want to show
Yeah.
some stuff? I need to.
Yeah, sure.
go
I
to the
can
bathroom
show
and,
me. It's very basic still, but I have this kind of direction that this is starting to take shape.
Okay, so I'm going to remove
Um,
myself for a second, and you can take over.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm doing right now is taking, like, sort of organizing the work so far. So you can think about it like this. This would be a good way to demonstrate what's happening. So there's this area where I want to take the best of what I understood about the user interface from this entire tree of the decision making and debates and UI versions and whatever. So there's a point where I feel like I've understood enough about the product to sort of distill the best of the process and sort of create a version that shows a sort of streamlined view of the definition, let's call it. So what Eyal is working on right now will basically allow us to create a sort of device like this one. Just to explain, I don't know how even if you did go into detail, probably some of you weren't here. So this is like, we imagined that this device would create a sort of arpeggiated pattern that you would use for your verse, for the verse of your tune. Now, the basically in the product, it would be represented in a very compact way, but it would have a very interesting mechanism that allows it. So you have some sort of piano roll, which is a sequence of notes, and then or even a single note, and then it would have, you know, 2 arpeggiators and then 3 form modules, you can call it. So once you run it through these arpeggiators, you can sequence different arpeggiators to play one after the other, and then you can do like a sort of musical inception and say, well, play the first form and then, you know, repeat that. So basically what you're getting is this sort of exponential growth where you're taking a small structure like a piano roll, expanding it with another device, sequencing several of these, and then sequencing several sequences. So this is the gist of the product in the lowest level. Of course, when we talk about a high-level interface, you would want to do something like take a piece of music, apply the verse maker on it, and see the result in a sort of very instant way. But we also want the users to have a deep sense of control over the processes, and so that verse maker isn't just a factory preset that you can't control. It's something that you personally, if you have a sort of way you want arpeggiated patterns to happen, we want you to be able to be like the brilliant scientist behind the method. So you can think about it as we give you tools to create your way to make music, and then you can apply that instead of like in a DAW to apply that to every note, you can apply it to long forms. You can say, verse maker, please do your magic on this 16 bar pattern, and it would result in something cool. So moving back to the actual work, right now we're at a point where we're trying to understand how to show the inputs. So verse maker would require you to input music into it. And when I jump forward here, I started doing this sort of flat style that's very, very clear, that shows the position of each module. So this module is the piano roll, and it says A. This module is an ARP, and it says B. And you can see that A is inputted into B. So this is a very basic form, like I showed before, if you were here, about starting from basic shapes and basic colors and having this sort of very clear understanding of the most powerful aspects of a design or of a interface. So this, I'm trying to understand better, have a better understanding of the object in terms of both the style and the functionality at the same time, which isn't that simple, but it's very gratifying. So the way I imagined it is that the piano roll is too big. Anyway, I'll keep it like that. That these flags up here would basically mean that the device, the verse ARP device, let's say I want to feed something external. It has a piano roll in it, but I want to feed a different type of music into it than the one that's inside this device. So I can go ahead and drag, let's say I can drag from here this this input. Let's say it just says input, right? I don't know what's assigned to it yet, but that's the music you should input into it. And once I drag it, it should do something like this. Check this out. So I'm going to copy here, paste the style here. And you see how this turned purple? And now it would say ARP1 input. Oh, let's just have it say ARP1 for now. Let's say that this is the name. I know what, I have enough room. Let's not be lazy, even though we are. So now you have this little flag on the top of the verse ARP here that implies that you externalize this input, and the entire kind of style is starting to I'm really starting to enjoy it. This sort of very flat design. You're dealing with a level of information that is already sort of intense, I guess, for some people. And I don't know, even the most technically proficient people love it when things are, spread out in front of them in a clear way without, like, if just to give an example of the importance of how the user experience is shaped from the very basic elements. If this was a gradient, like this, instead of a single color, so let's give it. So, like, subconsciously, the change of color does something. It takes away some concentration from you. And if this was a very simple system with like one button in the middle, it might be nice because it would make this feel more important. But dealing with these sort of systems, finding a nice backdrop for it, same with BeatsColor. BeatsColor has this dark blue background just because it contrasts properly with the 16 other colors that we can use. So this is kind of the same concept I'm going with. The green and the purple should work together. Just finding the graphical language makes you want to keep exploring the product and developing it. So yeah, this is where I'm at. I know it's still not much, but I'm building up to it. This stage does take a second. Even the most basic things take a second because the choices become more precise. But yeah, as I said, it would take like, I don't know, maybe 20-30 minutes, and I'll have this device that I showed up here, but looking very good and clear. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm actually really
Arthena says, just be sure to overload people with shortcuts. People love shortcuts. I think you are absolutely on the money. You're absolutely correct, especially in a product like this, that I can imagine that people that will know the key commands will just fly through music. That's a big thing for us. Like, we keep thinking about how people would want to work with it. We're talking even about like prompts that you can actually like insert texts and stuff like that. But you can't beat like a nice shortcut and mastering like the few shortcuts that you need. Which brings me to think that we could actually, do like command click on an input, sends it to the externalizes it and stuff like that. It's pretty neat idea as well.
Yeah, I was just one of the things that I was just doing is I managed to find out what the bug was with the plus thing that I was doing, and it was such a such a cut from, you're doing all these like amazing high level design stuff, and I'm here, connecting the name, that's connecting the plus button into the other side. Like it's
I'm talking about shades of purple and shades of gray. It's not that much of a high level design, but yeah.
Yeah. So I found the bug. By the way, I probably want to show this because this is it's a great bug. Look, so you see, I have the plus thing. Now the plus is going to work, but see what happens. I'm going to click it for the very first time. Oh, let me
maybe put yourself to the side or something.
Yeah. So I'm going to click it for the very first time. Look at which letter it brought out. D, right? Let's bring another one. It's E. Why is it D and E? You see these A, B, and C right below this?
Mm-hmm.
It did the right thing. It just also looked at the devices that were here. And I need to explain why it does this, because this is such an interesting problem that's kind of hiding underneath it. So the way the model of this language, when you think about it, it's, we said it's like a functional model, right? So there's a function. So there's a function that, and the function has these things. Like these are going to be inputs into the function, and these are statements or expressions inside the function, right? In terms of the model of how this is built, not in the part I'm working on now, but in the other part that represents the model of this function, all of these, like they're in the same scope. D, E, A, B, C, like all these stuff, they know about each other. So for example, when I take this thing, let's see if I didn't check see if it works. No, this should show up in the list as well. Oh, here you go. It does work. Look at this, right? So D, it says IO, which is kind of, it's funny. This should sound like a module input. So there's an int. This is an int, just because I just made int for now. This is an int variable, right? Or int parameter into the function. And this thing, the amount of transpose, knows which ints are in the scope, right? It looks for that. So, and it has to do that because these inputs have to live in the same scope as the call itself. Otherwise, we can't allow to connect things outside of scope. Some languages lets you do that, like they do the concept of global variables. But I have, because we were going for a functional style, or more like a functional programming language here, I did not allow that. I did not allow the user to, have access to other globals from the world here or other functions. I let the user have things that are explicitly brought in. And so if those exist at the same place, that means that they also share the letters. So that's so the simplest solution for this would be, I need to add a way when I create this to add something like inputs, to add like some name to this, so that and I probably also need to work on my generate unique ID function, because currently, I need to change that function. I need to make that function for I guess I need to do two things. I need to filter out everything here that's an input, that's of type input. Interesting. What I did is actually wrong, I think. Right?
It's very big of you to say.
Yeah. I need to think of a way where I would do this logic correctly, but only operate. Well, first of all, I probably need something like an. Yeah, this is kind of weird. Like, it's almost like I need to make this operate on a different list, because not only that I want the name of this to be unique, those names can be added over time by the user. Like, let's say that I have an input called, the user is going to call it, amount of steps to transpose or something. I don't want the user to later be able to add something with that name to somewhere else in their device. So I probably need to think of a way where this logic would almost be separate, right? Like I would need to only operate over over different things. How would I do that? How would I do that? Let me think. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, first of all, it looks like whatever name I'm putting in there, I'm actually running over it with in some other place. So that's not so good. The other problem. The other problem is that, yeah, I need to think about where this thing is created and stored. Because the problem really is that some other place where I'm creating this, what I'm doing is that I'm calling this function called create, and this creates it as if it's a regular device. Yeah. Right? That's what I'm doing? Yeah, it's weird that's what I'm doing, right? Because that means, oh, I know what happens. Okay, so I think it is going to create it as an actual device, and it's just my UI. It's not listening to this correctly to show this. Okay, I think let me do something that will expose the bug, expose how bad the bug is, and it'll probably be the correct thing to do. I'm gonna go into this thing right up here called blocks, and all I will do is, oh, here we go. It's the same problem. Sorry, I don't need to listen to blocks. I need to listen to states.map. Something like that. So this is the actual container. This will expose how bad the bug is, by the way. This is not going to work well. This is going to work really poorly. But it just makes me feel silly. So I'm going to add it here. Yes, it adds edit here too. That's the problem. I can't allow that to happen. That's interesting. Okay, so I need to think of this more fundamental problem of the way things are connected, because I need a way for these inputs to be exposed in scope but not show up in here. That's really, I guess, the gist of the problem. I'll have to think, because there's some code here that works in a very generic way. Like, for example, this code, literal music, whatever, transpose. All those connections don't really know about this thing being a special case. They look at some global map, or not global, but a scoped map that tells them which how they can connect the ID that's stored in them with something else, with another the output of something else. Interesting problem. Interesting problem. Because as weird as it sounds, it's almost like I need to have this list that has A, B, and C. I needed to know, because I need D in there. It exists. I just need to not display. And not just not display. I need it to not be calculated as a part of this, because the D being latest will also mean it's calculated in the chain of function calls. So I don't need that. I need somehow to add the special case everywhere. And I don't like the idea of the special cases everywhere. I'll have to think about this problem a little bit. How are you doing, Or? Are you okay?
I'm doing fine. I need to do some unrelated things in the background for a second.
Okay.
I can fill up some airtime if you want, but after in a few minutes, because I have to get this done.
Oh, no problem.
This is the part where the AI music thing would be nice.
Do you want to try it? Okay, so I'm going to do something that I've never tried before.
Do we have it available?
Yes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of options, so maybe we can make a vote on the chat. And if so this program we're using, they give us a bunch of categories for AI generated music. So one of them is chill, down tempo, chill hop, hip hop. Lo-fi.
Let's start with nature sounds. Sounds like what? Like monkeys and and parakeets.
The categories are really funny. There's a category called corporate.
What?
I swear, that's what it's called.
Corporate?
Yeah.
Is it? It's gonna give like a backdrop music for. Here at Viacom, we.
Do you want to hear it? You want to see what it sounds like?
Yeah, of course. We're corporate. We're a megacorp. Hi, welcome to Modalics. We'll be right with you. Meanwhile, you can enjoy this AI-generated piece of crap. If you don't like this song, well, too bad. It's gonna take us 3 days to answer the phone.
So you're gonna love this next category. You know what? I'm gonna play you the category because you can see what you can see what I'm doing, right?
No, I can't. I can only see it after you press play, but I can also not look.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Let's see. Do you know which category this is?
So I would guess that this one is nature sounds, because
Yes.
if it's rock, I'd be really surprised. Let's go. Hit me with another one.
Okay. Guess the style.
I kind of like this one.
Yeah.
Is it like chill hip hop, whatever, ambient?
They call this R&B. Yeah, look at this.
Well,
look at that J Dilla groove.
That's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, sounds like a beat scholar.
Yeah, it's like a quintuplet almost kind of thing. No, it's not a quintuplet, but yeah, it's a laid back.
It's a sextuplet.
Kind of,
Still pretty good.
yeah, sextuplet, but it is laid back a little bit. Nice. This one's pretty good.
Yeah.
I can vibe with this one. The corporate one was just irritating.
Any music is fun. I don't know if how weird this is to people watching this.
I'm guessing it's pretty alright. A lot of streamers use music for the background. What happens if you click it again? Does it regenerate? You can like shuffle, like regenerate as much as you want.
Yeah, they give you a
Right.
shuffle button. So let's try this other song, but in the same category.
This is legit.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
You know what? I'm gonna keep this.
Yeah,
Right.
it's also like a fairly. Maybe you can turn it down a tiny bit, but it's fairly non-intrusive in terms of like you can speak over it and everything.
Is that better?
I'm guessing. Guys, let us know if the music rubs you the wrong way or something. But for me, it's all right. I mean, it will bridge over the silent spots, but it's good coding music.
Yeah.
It's funny that an AI creates good coding music. I mean, it's not funny. It's predictable. Oh, did it glitch?
What?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
It feels like it started over or something. I want to listen to the jazz one and see if I can tell that it's not real jazz.
Play it.
I mean, most jazz has traditional Chinese instruments, right? It's very common. Yeah, and like what the hell? Who trained this AI? Like, who trained the jazz AI? I gotta see if everything is like this, or it will actually play like a ballad. You know what? I kind of wish jazz was like this. I'd probably like it more. Sorry if I'm distracting you with this bullshit. I'll put it back to R&B. And,
I wish I could just play the jazz scene from The Office. You know, remember that?
Why can't they just play the right notes?
You're not stupid. Jazz is stupid.
But it's said like screaming, crying.
I actually might. Maybe this might be a good time to take a break.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll finish up some things anyway, and but it seems like we're kind of winding down, so
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah. So let's finish the stream. So if anyone has another question, we can answer. But I think that would be it for now, and we can come back on a stream later. Hopefully, a little bit later. Also, it means we're gonna get more viewership from the people in North America, or just some of them are waking up. They're in the East Coast. It's like
Right.
9 a.m. Some people, like where I am, this is 6 a.m. for me. So, and also I think I need to kind of walk around and think about this problem, because I realized I have a design thing that needs to be answered about what does it mean to what does it mean in terms of the way the model is to inject these inputs into a graph but still have them separate from the graph, because we can't have these inputs processed as a part of the graph. They kind of need to be they almost need to be external, basically. So I'll need to think of how would they be
Sort of a bridging level, to create a new level that's
yes,
like
but
a bridge between the internal scope and the external scope.
Exactly, and the thing is, they still need to be aware, made aware through the all the calls. That's really where it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe I'll need some different data structure to hold them, but then still have that structure made aware by because eventually there's some map in the code that says here are all the different functions, and here's their unique IDs, something like that.
Right.
And we need to make sure that even though this function is not there when you process the function, it needs to be there when you look it up. So that's why it makes it interesting.
Seems like a cool problem to show how you solve at a later stream.
When I know how to solve it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, can't do anything on stream. Have to do some downtime.
Yes, exactly. So thank you everyone for watching, and we will probably start another stream a little bit later, or tomorrow. We'll see when we feel like doing that. So
all right.
Thank you all.
See you guys.